are making. So really organic discussion and just kind of if there's folks who want to talk about what they do to measure their outcomes and to share and ask questions and things of that sort. Mary Lou?
Yep. So as Sophia mentioned, we really want to facilitate organic conversation. And we're really hoping to, at the end of this discussion, really gain a better understanding of some of the mechanisms that community foundations are using to collect data, the ways in which foundations are encouraging student participation in the collection of data, whether it's required as part of a student claiming their award, and if it's built into that process, or if it's something that is done externally from that, and the types of resources that and technological tools that foundations are using in support of measuring impact.
And then one thing I wanted to add is that we would like to produce some kind of document at the end of this so that the learning doesn't just take place among us, but also we can distribute it to the larger membership with best practices in this field. So that's the goal. And we can discuss how that's going to be accomplished later on, maybe at the next meeting.
Okay, so does anybody want to jump in and just kind of share what they're doing or what their need is?
Hi, this is Colleen. And I'm not actually.
What foundation you're from? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
If you could just introduce yourself and let us know what foundation you're with.
Okay. My name is Colleen Skates. I'm the executive director of a small nonprofit named Bootstraps. And we're not really a community foundation, but this was the best fit for a learning circle for me. We are localized to a certain community, the Evergreen and Conifer, Colorado area, and we do only provide scholarships to students graduating from this community, graduating from high school in this community. Our budget is about $300,000 a year, and of that we award about $220,000 in scholarships and interest-free loans. Each year we award about 75 recipients, and we have about 60 scholarships that are new each year, but we also have a few ongoing as well, in addition to renewing interest-free loans. It's been quite a difficult process for us to track the students because most of our awards are one time. It's just for the first year. So there's really no reason for them to stay in touch with us. I've tried doing some surveys and gotten some pretty decent results. For the students who have continuing scholarships for 4 years, it's much easier, of course, to track what's going on with them, because they have to provide their transcripts and a tuition statement each year in order to get their award funded again. So, but that's just a handful of the kids. So it's been an issue for us, definitely.
So you say your challenge is really tracking the students who receive a one-time award?
Exactly.
Okay, and
that's about,
I'm sorry.
That's about 90% of our recipients.
Okay.
Hi, this is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
And with the students who receive multi-year awards, how do you said they're required to submit their grade reports, but do you stay connected in other ways? Or I know the foundation you work for is a little unique. Where do the donors stay connected with them, or?
Not really. Some of them do. Again, the multi-year ones, we stay connected with much more easily. And that's something that we really need to work harder on, is trying to figure out a way to do more outreach and stay connected with the kids. I try to email them occasionally, and say, hey, what are you guys up to? It would be great for you to just check in, let us know how the school year is going, and that kind of thing. But they just I generally only get like a 35% response rate. So that's not working out too well either.
I think from my perspective, I've had very similar issues as what Colleen's experiencing. I would say a good, probably 95% of our awards that are issued are one-time awards, with some of our donors having opportunities to have students not necessarily renew their award, but submit a new application for a new award in a following school year. And so we do have some students that have received 4 years of one-time awards with little to no success in really tracking their progress outside of the application questions that we have set up. And so we've had some talks with the donors of the fund regarding making adjustments to the application to kind of embed some of the measures and the impact measurements that we'd like to see and track over time, so that where the incentive is you could potentially receive an additional one-time scholarship if you were to provide us with this information. But outside of that, it really is difficult, even with the students that receive renewing awards, to really keep track on them, to have them claim their awards in a timely manner, and then to engage them in some of the work that we're doing in support of our specific community, and providing them with additional services through other means. One thing that we did here at the California Community Foundation, what we try to do is we try to engage our scholars through social media, through a social media campaign via Twitter, to try to elicit some of the information that we would hope to collect in the future via a survey. And to date, the survey has yielded not the highest response rate. I think we're at about 10% of students who receive the survey have responded. So it's not that significant. So to hear that you've received 35% is pretty impressive.
Would you be willing to share your survey with people on the call?
Sure, absolutely.
This is Laundria at the Community Foundation in Middle Tennessee, in Nashville. And, I mean, we're here to really hear what everybody else is doing, and I think we're pretty much on track with everyone else. We too, have trouble staying in touch with students. We have a verification form that we use in order to send checks and things out to the schools. So that's usually the last contact until the next year. It's going to be really hard for us to track because our scholarships are across the whole United States. And we have several employer-based scholarships that are nationwide. So that makes it even more difficult. So if anybody has any good thoughts, share, please.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Sylvia again from Philadelphia Foundation. And we haven't been that successful, but I can say that Laundria mentioned the verification form. That really helped me, and that's something I learned through NSPA. Like, oh, we were just sending award letters and then sending the scholarship to where they said they were going to school. So the verification forms were like, why haven't we ever done that? So we started that about 3 or 4 years ago. But one of the things I was wondering if anybody offered any incentives to students to to keep them connected to the foundation in some way. One of the things that we've done is we have a couple of our funds that have receptions for that year's awardees, and we always invite, you know, students maybe like 5 years back or students who are still in college or just graduated college to come back. And last year, one of the things we did was we asked a couple of the graduates to come and speak at the reception, and you know, sort of encourage the students who are graduating high school. So that was really great, and one of those students has kind of stayed in contact with us and is volunteering on one of our scholarship committees. So it's like, wow, that's a great success. So, and is thinking of starting a scholarship fund with her family. So that's been a good success. But anybody else, you offer any? I know the main incentive to stay connected with the foundation is to, you know, that next year's award and subsequent payment. But does anybody else have any ideas about offering maybe an incentive to say?
We have not, but we have invited some of our recipients who are local here in Nashville to a board meeting or things like that, and we do have several who keep in touch with us. We've been invited to a wedding just this year from one of our lovely children. So it's hit and miss. No, I know it's going to be, it would be absolutely impossible probably for us to do any kind of reception, but, you know, thinking about social media stuff and other things, maybe that might be a possibility, but I don't know.
This is Colleen again. We have a reception in May for the new recipients and the donors who have contributed the funds for their scholarships. And that's usually, you know, a nice event, but it doesn't help us to keep in touch with them. We do try to invite recipients who are in the area, but as another speaker said, our kids go all over the country with their scholarships. They're not confined to Colorado. So a lot of them, you know, once they've left Evergreen and moved to where they're going to college, a lot of them don't come back. They just stay where they are for the summers and such. So it's hard to get them to come to this reception.
I think that this is Mari Lou here of the California Community Foundation. I think one of the challenges that community foundations in particular face is that we don't necessarily have a natural constituency where, say, a university has an alumni network. Community foundations don't necessarily have that kind of constituency. And so one of the things that the California Community Foundation has attempted to do and it is really trying to launch this year is building out our scholarship program so that the students associate that scholarship grant not just from the fund and acknowledging the fund and the donors' philanthropy, but as well as one that is administered by the foundation in support of their education, and one in which the students can hopefully be proud to say that they're, you know, a CCF scholar and really connect what it is that they're doing and their award back to the foundation's work. And so again, we're really trying to use social media as an avenue for that. We have had conversations about incentives for students, particularly aligned with some of the other work that we're doing. So we have a partnership with a retailer, and so raffling off the shirts that we're partnering with the retailer on, connecting students to other resources. But for the most part, I think another part of the difficulty of it is the methods of communication have primarily been through email. And so I'm curious to know how community foundations are really communicating information about the awards to the students, and if there's any other mechanisms outside of email that are being used.
This is Colleen again. We're pretty much email, mainly because that's what the kids seem to like, and I'm the only employee of our organization, so I don't have time to be on the phone all the time.
Yeah.
And it's easier for me to just, send out a bunch of emails through Constant Contact than to make 50 phone calls in a day. So we are definitely email communicators. We do a little bit through Facebook, not so much with Twitter, but we try to reach out with Facebook. And, that's been hit and miss. So email seems to work the best.
Hi, this is Elise Vale with the Central Indiana Community Foundation. Can you hear me, or is there an echo?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to address the incentive question and also forms of communication. So we're pretty much on par with what everyone else has been saying. As far as an incentive, I don't know if we have a real incentive, but we also do provide a college success workshop, is what we call it, in the summer. We're fortunate enough that a lot of our students do go to in-state colleges, so we can connect with them fairly well, but we do have a few students that go out of state. So really that summertime is when we can capture them, and we provide a workshop that gives them financial literacy, basic student success tips. And another thing that we also do is try to pair our new recipients, who are mostly first-year students, with older scholarship recipients, and those are mentors. And the whole idea is to start building this campus community feel for our students, so that they really start to feel that they're CICF scholars, and they have this, feel that they are part of something, and not just alone as they go into school their first year. And we've seen that email is the best form of communication so far. It's what our students are preferring. However, we do know that they don't check their email that often, so they are missing pretty crucial things at certain points in the year. So I'm always trying to explore better ways to communicate with the students.
Well, I have a question. What outcomes and/or impact on the community are we looking for? I mean, I don't know that anyone has ever said what it is they're actually looking for.
Well, one of the things I've been finding is that, this is Sylvia again, some of our newer donors are really wanting to know, okay, where did this student up? What are they doing now? They want to kind of know what percentage of students have actually graduated, what percentage of students, what are they doing? What fields are they working in? Even if it's not a major specific scholarship, they want to know. They've been asking those kind of questions. So that's what that's what I'd like to get to, having those mechanisms built in so that when that question is asked or on a regular basis, we can push out some of those reports. Recently we've had two board members sort of ask, what percentage of your students that receive scholarships actually graduate? It's so hard to tell when it's one-year student. I mean, that's something we could do if we decided to do the student clearinghouse. But they kind of want to know those kind of things.
Thanks, Sylvia. I wanted to ask if anybody, as an outsider, you are all experts, but as an outsider listening in, I'm wondering if any of you use texting to connect with the students if you're not able to reach them by email or they are not responding in a timely manner. In my experience with the young students these days is when I send emails, they tend to just disappear, but with the text, the answer is almost immediate, so that might be something for you to consider if it's appropriate.
This is Colleen again. I've done limited texting with students, but it has led to issues in the past. So, for example, one and I have to use my own cell phone to do that, so it's my private number that they're getting. One issue was a student was texting me at 2 o'clock in the morning, asking me questions about renewing his scholarship and things like that. And, you know, I have my cell phone next to me all the time because it's my primary phone. So it's always on. It's, you know, it's next to my bed. And so texting to me seems to be a little bit too personal on both sides. But maybe that's just me.
Okay, thanks.
This is Elise again. I was just recently told about a service called Remind. I think it used to be called Remind 101 and was primarily used by teachers. And it's a way to text students using an app or their service online, so you're not using your own personal phone. Has anyone used that service? I've only created an account and haven't actually tried to use it yet.
This is Mary Lou here at the California Community Foundation. We've explored using a similar service called GroupMe, but the leadership here at the foundation has had somewhat similar concerns to what someone else has already mentioned, that it may be an issue of privacy for the student. When it's something in writing via email, it's easier to capture and document and save, whereas we had some concerns regarding how these communications might then be saved, and how that might impact our donors' experience relative to, you know, that connecting with students, and how the students experience claiming their award, because we've had instances where we did have a system that collected a lot of demographic data and had data stored on what the student's GPA was, how they were doing, what their major was, what university they were attending, how they were matriculating. But the students were having difficulty with that service, and so that, and the students would then kind of criticize the level of difficulty in claiming their award, which then caused issues with our donors having concerns with how difficult it was for our students. So for us, it's really a balancing act of making sure that, yes, we're communicating with our students and we're giving them the information, but we're not putting ourselves in a situation in which we might potentially cause problems with our scholars and then in turn have relationship issues with our donors.
The one thing we do send to our donors is, after the board has approved the awards, is the donors of those funds get a letter from us telling them who the student is, where they're going to school, what their major is, and maybe one other sentence about them. That's as much as our donors get. None of them have really asked for really deep information, and I think maybe because we sort of preempted that with this letter eons ago, maybe that's what's saving us from having to do some of the things you guys are talking about.
We provide a similar letter to our donors. They also get a thank you note from the scholar. And as I said before, they get an opportunity to meet the recipient at our spring reception. I don't know if that addresses what you were talking about, but as far as privacy and stuff like that.
I think that the reception is a wonderful idea, and we do have receptions for some of our funds. But I'm just curious regarding the spring reception, is that something that's across all funds, at all levels, at all giving levels, or if this was something that is more specific to donors that are at a certain giving level or have assets of a certain size in their fund?
It's a little of both. Our scholarships are all privately funded, and the donors of the scholarships set the criteria. So each scholarship is individual, just very, very specific. So we invite all of those scholarship donors, and then we also invite donors of a certain level. I have a strange classification system as far as what I consider to be a major donor. If someone's giving me $20 a month and they're doing it, on a recurring basis every single month through a system, I consider them to be a major donor because they're definitely connected with my organization, and it's they show that they have interest and that it is a passionate thing for them, and they're doing the best they can. So those people get invited, as well as people who donate around $500 or more per year. We're pretty liberal. We want everyone to come to our parties.
Yep. So we've kind of talked about
specific side of fund. It depends on the asset size of the fund if we do a reception. And we usually only do receptions if it's a multi-year scholarship.
And have those receptions been used as a mechanism for collecting information on the student, or is it more as an seen as an opportunity to engage the students?
It's seen as an opportunity to engage the students, not really collecting information, but like our scholarship associate and I, we usually, we get to know the students better at the receptions, and also the donors get to meet them too, but because we hold smaller receptions, so like maybe every 5 years we have one where we invite everyone, like everyone who's received a scholarship that year and all of our scholarship donors. But on an annual basis, we hold about 4 receptions. So we may have like 20 recipients at one reception. One fund actually awards 5 students. So we get to know those students. We get to talk to those students more, and we get to verbally tell them, well, stay connected with the foundation, learn more about what we're doing. We may want to have you come back to encourage other students. So when they get that face-to-face time, we're finding that it's a little better than filling out a form. So then when we follow up with them, it's a little more comfortable, and they're kind of expecting it.
Yeah.
And we don't want to come across as you must tell us where you land when you graduate. We found that the relationships that we've kind of held on to and the students that have come back and encouraged other students, those are the students that we've met face-to-face and talked to at reception.
Sylvia, this is Lisa with the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. So you like us and some of the other foundations, you're managing these multiple scholarships. So you only do these award ceremonies, like if the donor has requested it?
Yeah, it's usually when the donor requests, if the donor has requested it. We have some where we suggest it for a donor, like if it's a new fund, it's a large asset, has large assets, we'll say, well, would you, want to have a reception? A lot of our scholarships are awarded, because we kind of have them classified on how the students are selected, and so for like our advised class, we usually offer a reception, to host a reception here or somewhere else. But for the ones where the high schools actually select the students for us, and we don't manage that committee, we will try to arrange for the donor to maybe make the presentation at the high school. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those are usually so kind of coordinated that way. We have a few multi-year ones where we realize we've kind of lost the connection with the student because they're ones that are that come to us through trust or will, so we're not really connected with the donor, or the donor's dead. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of old funds like that, from like 60s, where there's no living donor, no successor advisor, so we just administer it through a high school. And we realized that, we could have really connected with these students or kept them engaged rather than just a transaction of sending us your grades every year, because they don't have to send a letter, right? We never required them to send a letter because there's really no one to send a letter to. But we can still require that they send, or ask that they send a letter to the foundation regardless. So I'm sorry, I said a whole lot. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Thanks.
And this is Maggie again. I am wondering. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mary Lou.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, I am wondering whether any of you have explored partnerships with universities, colleges, or alumni associations. I'm sure there's some privacy issues around that, but I wonder if there is any way to get this information and maybe even not connected to individual students, but as an aggregate. Yeah, just wondering whether that might be an avenue for all of you.
Hi, Maggie.
I haven't really thought of that, and we have quite a few colleges in our area where a lot of our students do stay local, and I never thought about staying connected in that way.
I'd like to echo Sylvia's comments. We have relationships with a lot of the local universities here. We have some that are beneficiaries through funds that we have that were established via trust. So we issue a block grant to those universities, and then the universities grant out the scholarships. And so I think that that's a wonderful suggestion, and would love to further explore how I might partner with universities that are here locally that issue scholarships administered by the foundation. So thank you, Maggie, for that suggestion. Another thing that I was hoping to take the time to explore during our conversation was really getting a sense of some of the tools that are currently being used by community foundations, whether they're a particular software, or I know that someone had mentioned potentially using Remind as a way to communicate with students. And so if anyone has any experience with a specific software or tool, and how they perceive that tool to be helpful, some of the pros and cons of those tools in relation to communicating with students, engaging students, or tracking student information.
This is Elise again. So one of the important impacts that we want to track with our scholarships is our students' persistence and completion. And so this year we have partnered with the National Student Clearinghouse to submit that data, our students' data to them in order to get a report back showing persistence and completion. This is our first year, so I really don't have too much to tell you as far as how we are using that information, but we are looking into ways that we can better collect data from students to get better data back from the National Student Clearinghouse, and then slice it and dice it in ways that we can share with our current donors and then also with potential donors.
Elise, what kind of information do you... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, no, go ahead with your question.
What kind of information do you submit to the clearinghouse? Do you just give them a list of names?
Yes, so it's pretty simple data, but it's a template that they give you that you have to fill out, and it's basically student's name, birth date, and high school, and I think those are the 3 key data points that they need to be able to locate that student and provide the correct data back.
Wow, is it expensive?
I can't remember the exact price, but I want to say that it's $1 per record, which is per student. So it's not terribly expensive unless you have a ton of students that you're looking at. I mean, are trying to get baseline data. So we've gone back to 2007. So we submitted a lot of students this year just to get our baseline data from those past years.
Wow, that's a cool resource. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
I've heard of the clearinghouse. Now, you said it's $1 per student when you want to do a report, but is there an annual fee for it?
I think there might have been, and I can't remember exactly what that was, but I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any other tools that anyone wants to share? Don't everyone talk at once now.
This is Elise again. I'm just curious, we're trying to automate our data collection and then output more. We've done a lot of updates to our Foundation Power, which is our way we keep our database and grant payments and scholarships payments in check. We've used Google Forms in the past for any kind of forms that we have students fill out so that we have that information in an Excel spreadsheet so that we can then not necessarily do as much manual input. But does anyone use any kind of tool that's a little bit more automated in order to streamline that point of collecting data and then getting it into your databases or whatever else you use?
I'm pretty much using the same thing you are, so except I use an Access database instead of a Excel spreadsheet. So, but yeah, it's pretty much the same way you're doing it.
Unfortunately, we're in a Stone Age. We don't use an online application, so everything's manual around here.
We have online application and online review. The information is exported out into an Excel file, which can then be imported into FIMS, which is our accounting program. There's still some manual work to it, because on the back end, you'll have to figure out how you're going to have FIMS ID codes. So, you know, where in the online system you can store that information so that when it all comes out, you don't have to manually look all of that up. So it's still some manual pieces to it, but for the most part, it's an export and an import, and it's fantastic.
Mary Lou here. We use something very similar in Excel. We are exploring having all of our applications online via Granted Edge's new tool, Spectrum. I've heard in some of the community forums that it's a tool that seems to be working well for some community foundations, but it's something that we are in the process of transitioning to, so I wouldn't be able to really speak to the robustness of the tool and how that would work for reporting at this time.
Anybody have anything else they wanted to share or ask? Okay, well, I just want to follow up with the email. I know I asked a couple people if they'd be willing to share some of the documents they have. Had written a note about the letter that you sent to donors about confidentiality. I'd love to see that too. So I'll send a group email out to everyone. And asking if people will be willing to share via that email. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sure.
And I will also follow up. I will write up my notes so that everybody has a record, and that could be maybe the beginning of that document that we are going to produce at the end of this. And I can attach any of the examples to that document at that point. So, and then I will also discuss next next meeting dates with Sylvia and Mary Lou, and we'll send that information out. But the next meeting will be sometime in September.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Will there be different I mean, what will some of the other topics be? Are we to submit to you some topics we'd like to have questions answered? Please, you're welcome to submit topics. I mean, we wanted to have, you know, this general topic of outcome measurement because it was, it seemed like it was an important subject for the community foundations. So that will probably be our overarching topic that we produce the document for, but you're certainly welcome to bring any other issues up and we can discuss them. Okay, great. This was great. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.